Alright guys, so I'm back today because recently I talked about a film called The Third Saturday in October Part 5, and that was technically the first installment in this slasher universe where this director wanted to pay homage to the slasher genre by creating the fifth installment in a movie and trying to encapsulate the time period and also satirize the genre a little bit. Well, after that film was made, the director decided to create the first installment in that slasher series, The Third Saturday in October. And this was supposed to be the film that gives us the background into the killer, where he came from, and pay more of an homage to the 70s era. And so, as much as I did not like the fifth installment, I wanted to give the director a chance because I was really impressed with the film visually, and I thought that maybe he would work on the things that didn't work in the fifth film. And so today I'm going to be discussing The Third Saturday in October. Third Saturday in October is directed by Jay Burleson, a lost slasher film from the golden age of the slasher genre. October 1979. Ricky Dean Logan is a man on a mission. Years ago, he lost a child at the hands of a psychopathic killer named Jack Harding. When Harding escapes death row, Ricky Dean throws himself into the line of fire to stop him from killing again as Harding preys upon a group of friends gathered to watch a college football game. So, as I said, not a big fan of the fifth installment, and this film is paying more of an homage to the 70s era of slasher, which is my favorite era, the 70s, early 80s. And this film is a slight improvement over the fifth installment, but that is not saying much at all. This film still isn't all that great, but what I will give the director credit for is, once again, the visuals in this film. It's astounding how much he is able to encapsulate the 1970s in just the presentation, the set design, and the costume design. It is such an immersive world that he draws you into right away. And obviously, as we learn in the fifth film, this always centers around this college football rivalry. And in this film, you get a character that's a little more like a Jamie Lee Curtis, where she's this young, innocent girl working at this diner, and she's close with her father, and they always watch the football games together. And one day she's there, and this group of kids that traveled in from out of town comes in, and they invite her to come over for the football game, and she's like, but I always watch the game with my dad. And she decides to go over there, and then simultaneously, as the plot description states, you have this guy who goes to the execution of this killer at the beginning of the film. The killer is supposed to be executed. He survives the execution, and it's all about him and this woman trying to hunt this killer down at the same time. So you kind of get that Donald Pleasance vibe from this character as well. Even though the story has a little bit more of a structure to it, it still falls into the same traps as the fifth film, where there's so much expositional dialogue in this movie that is bland, that does not add to anything in the film. So many meaningless interactions between characters that have forced humor. I talked about that cat joke in the fifth movie. The cat joke is in this movie as well, and they overplay it so much to where it's just like, is this funny to anyone besides the people that worked on the movie? Like, I'm all into like obscure, dark humor, like especially subversive, strange humor, but this just felt like they couldn't come up with any sort of interesting jokes or anything to really draw you in. I feel like this genre is so easy to poke fun at. Like, it's existed for so long. If you wanted to make jokes and really kind of tear apart the slasher genre while also still showing love towards it, because I'm wearing my Friday the 13th shirt today. The Friday the 13th franchise, none of the movies in the franchise are great movies. They're all relatively bad. They fall into the same formula over and over again. But what makes them fun is that they're stupid, and they realize they're stupid, and they play into their stupidity, which is what makes the movie so entertaining to watch. If you're trying to mimic that style, play into the stupidity, do things that are ridiculous and absurd and over the top. This movie is almost tame in that regard. The moments where they try to play it over the top, it feels stripped back. Like, even in the most ridiculously absurd moments in this film, they never go far enough to feel anything like a Friday the 13th movie. And I just don't understand why, if you're going to pay homage to the slasher genre, that you can't even encapsulate that feeling that it's giving off other than aesthetically. The atmosphere, that time period is still great. I still felt no looming threat throughout this entire movie, aside from the moments where the score would play, and the score was phenomenal once again. I feel like it really feels like something right out of this era. It fits in perfectly with this type of movie. But the characters are so uninteresting, the humor never works, and the kills, once again, give us something interesting. There weren't even any sequences in this, aside from a scene with a chainsaw, that were really all that interesting that made me want to come back and watch this movie again. And as I said in my review of the 5th installment, every slasher film, even the worst ones, have memorable kills that make the movies entertaining. Even in the worst films, you get moments that you can remember. And in this, there's not really any moment that I feel like in a few weeks that I'll remember. It's just like I watched it, I experienced it, and I'll never think about it again. And even the killer, such an interesting idea for a killer, and the execution is just so poor. There's nothing really that brings you in to want to watch him as a killer. Like, even you think of like a Jason or a Michael Myers, they're essentially faceless killers. They don't speak. Jason's a big brute that murders people, and Michael Myers is just a guy who walks slow and stabs people. There's not much to their personality, but the thing is, the way they're shot, the way they're framed, the way they move, it makes them menacing. And I feel like there's not even enough with this character that does that. They show how he acquires the mask in the 5th movie, and it really wasn't all that interesting. It didn't really add much to the character. I actually almost like him with the mask off more, with his eye and all that. But yeah, this movie is just incredibly forgettable. I feel like moments after I turned it off, I was already forgetting elements of the film, and normally I retain things really well when I watch something, and this movie, it was just like in my eyes and then gone. Like I just didn't think about it anymore, and I don't know, it just doesn't feel like it hits the hallmarks of what makes slasher movies so entertaining and fun. And I was really disappointed in this movie. I was hopeful that it would be great, and it really just let me down in every way. So have you seen The Third Saturday in October? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Leave me a comment down below and let me know what you thought. I thought this movie was also bad. Even though it was a little improvement over the 5th installment, it still wasn't anything special. As always, if you like the video and subscribe to the channel, it helps me out a lot and lets me know the type of content you're looking for. I'm always putting out new material and look forward to getting more out for you in the near future. And as always, everyone, thank you so much for watching, and have a great rest of your day.